Recently, the Johannesburg-based newspaper The Star ran an article featuring the shocking state of Bruma Lake, which is situated to the east of the Johannesburg CBD and is fed by the Yxke River. Paul Farrell, a wetlands specialist and environmental activist, is quoted in the article as saying, "In first world countries, areas around the Yxke River would have been cordoned off with huge warning signs telling people not to go near the water." After reading the article, I decided to take my camera to Bruma Lake to see for myself what the situation was. It is a pity that technology has not yet advanced to the stage where I could film in smell around, so that you at home could experience what I experienced. The stench from the lake is nauseating. Raw sewage, animal remains, oils from taxis, even human remains wash into Bruma Lake on a daily basis. A terrifying statistic is that the E. coli levels are at 2.4 million per 100 mils of water. The accepted norm is below 1,000. A 9 million rand litter trap constructed in 2004 broke down during one of the severe storms we experienced on the Highveld in December last year. This has caused the lake to become a highly toxic open sewer. The water we are looking at here is only 4 centimeters deep. Below that lies a 1.8 meter deep layer of sludge. Under normal circumstances, these birds would have been swimming. Now they are able to stand in the center of the lake and scavenge off this revolting, poisonous gruel. It's a Sunday morning, it's the 10th of October, and I came down to Bruma to film some of the pollution after the recent rains, which is really disgusting. And while I was here, suddenly this drama started to unfold in front of me. I noticed a dog in the water not far from where I was standing. What really concerned me was that the dog was drinking from the lake. I was on my way to chase the dog back to the bank when it started to move off towards the center of the lake. The sludge stuck to its body like tar. I could clearly see that the animal was walking instead of swimming. It finally reached a hole in the sludge, and only then could it swim. I presumed it was on its way to annoy the Egyptian geese that were feeding in the middle of the lake. A few seconds later, my feelings were justified. I then thought that this was a stray dog, and it must have been starving and was trying to catch the geese. The dog reached the middle of the lake. Now the sludge was able to carry its weight. As it walked past the feeding birds, I noticed that it started to stumble as the sludge got a lot softer. The dog was once again swimming. It was now close to the far side of the lake, and there was nowhere for it to get out. It stayed close to the concrete wall on the far bank and was closely watched by the geese it had apparently wanted to have for dinner. I was now getting really concerned that this dog was heading for disaster. The only place it could get out of the lake was in the opposite direction that it was swimming in. If this dog was a stray, and if it was hungry, swimming in this toxic water could exhaust it quicker, with deadly consequences. I made a call to the SPCA, as now I could see that this dog was going to drown unless somebody hauled it out the water. It was a good 200 meters away from me and still swimming strongly at this stage. The dog then changed direction and started to swim back across the lake, closely monitored by the Egyptian geese. In the meanwhile, the SPCA had called me back and told me that an inspector was on the way. The mass of deadly pollution on the lake must have looked like solid ground to the now quickly tiring dog. By the time my camera had begun rolling, I was mortified to see that it was now struggling through the thick layer of waste that had built up against the retaining wall of the lake. Past experience told me that to jump into this water is not an option. It can lead to severe infections that can lead to septicemia and ultimately the loss of limbs due to infection, as was demonstrated last year when a South African writer had his leg amputated after swimming in infected water. I had to get the dog as close to the bank as possible so I could try to grab hold of it. At last, the exhausted dog heard my calls.
Come, puppy, come on.
It was now within meters of me being able to haul it out of this death trap. The SPCA were in the vicinity of the lake, but it would still be a few minutes until they got to where I was filming from. Every minute the dog stayed in this open sewer that used to be a lake was a minute too long. Now my worst fear became a reality. The utterly worn-out dog started to disappear beneath the water. I could not film this any longer. If I did not do something, the animal would die a few meters from safety. In desperation, I grabbed my camera in one hand and started to coax the animal along the wall to a place where I would at least be able to prevent it from drowning.
Come, you're tired. Come, baby. Come, baby.
Another fear I had was that of rabies. Johannesburg is in the throes of a rabies outbreak, and all stray dogs have to be treated with kid gloves. A bite from a rabid dog, if left untreated, is fatal. I needed a rope that I could use as a temporary leash until the SPCA, who were now a couple of minutes away, could get to us and use their knowledge to get the dog to safety. The only way I could capture this on film was to give my camera to my daughter, who had accompanied me on the shoot. I was determined to document everything in order to show our politicians how they were destroying our water supplies by ignoring issues such as Bruma Lake.
Hey, the dog's right behind me here. It's taking a rope. My daughter's got my camera. There's a lot of rabies in Joburg at the moment, so I'm just going to see if I can get it out until the SPCA gets here.
My lassoing skills are not the best in the world, but I managed to get the rope over the dog's head. This poor animal had been able to keep its head out of the muck for the entire ordeal. And then I, while helping it, unwittingly dunked the poor creature's head into the sludge. I just hoped it would forgive me for the undignified way in which I had pulled it to safety.
I managed to secure the dog to the tree. It's really exhausted. It's absolutely finished.
At least it was now safe.
I'm terrified. My hands are full of this gunk, which is supposed to be part of a lake.
I was really relieved when Rob from the SPCA finally found me. He was able to haul the dog, who we now knew was a young male, free from the cesspool.
Come on. Ready.
Rob's trained eye could see that the dog was not showing any symptoms of rabies, and he gently carried the traumatized animal to his van.
Come on, my sweetie.
If the powers that be at Johannesburg Water were carrying out their mandate, as we all expect them to do, none of this would have happened. I just hope that this short film gets them off their behinds and changes the Bruma toilet back to the lake it is intended to be.